So chapter 9, if you ask me, should be the most important chapter of the entire book, because I have always wanted to find out the outperformance of a multi-factor portfolio, because we talk about, there are so many factors there, right? What if we combine them into a diversified portfolio? We used to know that by modern portfolio theory, right, you should have some stocks, you should have some bonds, you should have some cash in your portfolio, right? So it's by asset allocation. Okay, so it's essentially it's asset allocation. But if you ask me now, with all this new research, why not you diversify by factors, right? So you have factors that gives you outperformance, but you don't know who perform well in different periods, right? Because if you can know, then definitely you want to concentrate your portfolio in a particular factor, but we do not know which factor will perform well before it happens. So having a diversified multi-factor portfolio will give us high return, and by diversifying them would lower our risk in that sense, right? So that was what I wanted to find out, and the authors did me a good service to dedicate a whole chapter on implementing a multi-factor portfolio. So that gives me leads me to talk about the second most important table. Okay, later I'll share with you the most important table. This is the second most important table, where you can see the author put together the different various factors, okay, in this table, right? So and so, okay. So they tell you the odds of outperformance. You can see that no one strategy, right, or no one factor is able to give you 100% guaranteed outperformance in the first year, 3 years, or even 5 years. Okay, some have varying, some reaches the 100% mark, like momentum. Okay, so if you have done a momentum factor over 20 years, right, you are sure that it will make money. Okay, you'll sure have not just make money, you'll outperform the market itself. Okay, so some reaches the 90% mark earlier. Okay, some a lot later. All right, so it is a good table to help you summarize and set expectation right. And there's no one factor that works all the time, and you must be careful and not have unrealistic expectation. And when the reality falls short of it, right, you tend to give up a lot sooner than you actually should be doing. Okay. And in terms of this Sharpe ratio, right, what it's trying to tell you is that the higher the better, the risk-adjusted returns are better. Okay, so this is how it's being played out. But I would warn you about this. You can see the Sharpe ratio for momentum is the highest. Okay, the issue is when the Sharpe ratio for momentum is not a true reflection, because remember we talked about there's a large crashes for momentum. When market rebound very strongly after a market crash, momentum tends to do very, very poorly. So this is not a reflection of the degree of drop during those periods. So this is a more moderate over a long period of time. It has a higher Sharpe ratio, but it is actually quite a difficult factor to tackle out of so many factors that we have discussed. Now, the most important table, okay, what you should focus on is now into this P1, P2, and P3. Okay, so what is P1, P2, and P3, right? So it's the multi-factor portfolio. So P1 consists of beta, size, value, and momentum. P2 has everything plus quality. P3 have everything except that replace quality, profitability. Okay, so what is interesting is that look at the number of years it takes, right, to give you 100% chance of outperformance, or what you want to see a 0% underperformance as soon as possible. And you can see if you run a single factor strategy, right, you will take a much longer time to run to really have a very assured way of beating the market. But if you run a multi-factor portfolio, you have a very good chance, right? I would say after 3 years, right, okay, like P2 and P3 portfolio, right, you're almost quite certain that you will beat the market, okay, with such a low probability of underperformance. Okay, so this means that by combining factors will give you a much more better risk-adjusted returns. So that is the focus that we should be adopting. And if you understand that some of our courses that we run always encourage multi-factor portfolio, so our current portfolio are exposed to size, value, and profitability. Okay, so this is how we can run the portfolio and make returns a lot smoother. And definitely we are looking a lot in momentum, but it's a very tricky animal. It does give a lot of returns, but at the same time we must be careful of momentum crashes.